Sadashivasamarambam Shankaracharya Madhyamam Asmadacharya Paryantam Vande Guru Paramparam Ishwaro Guratmeti Murti Beda Vibhagine Vyomabda Vyapta Dehaya Dakshinamurtaye Namaha Sabhavedanta Siddhanta Gocharam Tamagocharam Govindam Paramanandam Satguru Pranatosh Maham Om Om Shwara Shanti 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 Om Namaste. Uh, we are still seeing the unfoldment of the verse 13, in which Krishna says, "My devotee is a non-hater." Uh, in other words, he is a friend of every being, of all beings. He is compassionate, he is free from the notion ahamkara mamakara. It is equanimous, the same in comfort as well as discomfort, and it has forbearance. So this is a really richly packed verse in which most of the qualifications of a yani, or a highly developed being, is presented. So, and Swami went about commenting on this verse, and last class we stopped somewhere here. I hope I marked it correctly. Can you understand the difference? Identification with the body-mind complex is ahamkara. Identification with everything external is mamakara. And how do you give up the mamakara? They're also the same method. So what he means by it's the same method. So the world out there that we try to all say like it's my belong, it's my accomplishment, it's mine, is an extension of the ahamkara, which is improper appropriation of the body mind as if it is ours. This is my body, and now I go and I get things, to give me a sense of completion. So what is the method? The method to offset the ahamkara are two. First, we have to understand that everything belongs to Ishvara, huh? And then this body mind belongs to Ishvara. And therefore, we are just grateful for Ishvara conceding us this instrument of knowledge experience. So the other way to offset this ahamkara is as well understanding that the gunas are doing everything, and I have one only purpose in every and all births, which is to direct my life, meaning to say I allow Ishvara to present my parabada so that I can respond to the parabada in the most possible way. So I know that everything belongs to Ishvara, this body belongs to Ishvara, but yet it seems Ishvara has created every body mind, especially the human body mind, for the sake of responding to the paravadas, from the standpoint of observance of the laws and principles of the very Lord, because that is the Lord. Dharma is the Lord, is a beautiful expression of the Lord. So there are several ways we can offset the sense of ownership and authorship and doership. And then in which way we're gonna offset the sense of mind, the same way. First, you understand and you detach or you abandon or you transcend the notion that the body mind is yours. It was just given to you for a certain purpose. and but you have no saying, although you have some sayings. It's very tricky to talk about free will and Parabada because from one angle we are helpless. We have to take whatsoever Ishvara presents as Parabada. But on the other hand, we know that we have contributed to our own Parabada. Every human being is contribute to everyone's Parabada. So Ishvara is not alone in providing us with our Parabada. We are behind Ishvara. Provide Ishvara with, our ragged virtues. So how to give up the sense that everything I own is mine? The same way you gave up the notion that this body mind is yours, everything belongs to Ishvara is the first level of understanding. The other thing is that either Ishvara, either this world with the jivas and all jivas parabhata is just a superimposition upon consciousness. I am consciousness, the light that illumines and reveals Ishvara, Jiva, Jagata, Jiva, and all Jivas Paravadas. Everything is just projection, superimposition, reflection upon Brahman, conscious existence, the only reality, and I am this conscious reality. So, in which way we're going to give up? We're going to refine this ahamkara by profound knowledge, understanding, giving up identification with the body mind and with the external world. So identification only the things of the external world is the manifestation of mamakara. Only your own body mind is a manifestation of ahamkara. The same method, understanding Bratri, Mark, is this the place we were meant to begin today?
Yeah, more or less, I believe so. Yeah.
Okay, Lynn is saying that we are correct. We are on it. So this Brittany wrote something on Vairagya. In the end, he writes of these passages, verse, or these, writings. He says, I have only thank you note. So in the United States, they are very polite and everywhere. And the beginning was a little bit excessive to my take. Everything, if somebody invites me for dinner and then I had to write a card with a thank you note and for everything you write a thank you note. And then I found it very beautiful afterwards, if it's really come from one's inner core, So this entity wrote a thank you note to the Lord, given by an enlightened person at the moment of death. When everybody tries to cry and grieve when somebody is dying, this entity tells a wise person what will be his attitude. So the beautiful verse, he says, when I'm leaving this body, I will be thanking the Lord by thanking all the five elements, Akasha, Vayu, Agni, Apaha, and Prithvi. And addressing all of the five elements, he says, all elements, all Lord manifest as the elements. You have all given a portion of yours to build this body mind. Mind as well is built by the subtle elements. Body has got a kasha portion, has got every one of the five elements portions. Has got Yani, and then Swami most probably makes a little joke about human beings' temper that sometimes goes up in the form of temperature, or maybe not. But I'm just putting it there. We know that we have fire within us because sometimes our temper goes up. We get very hot, we get high. But there are other ways to access the fact that we have fire within ourselves. Okay, he just say thank you. Elements, the five elements are devatas. Everything is in there. Everything we eat, everything we drink is a gift from the five elements to make up this body. And why I need this body? Because this body is instrument by which you may attain self-knowledge and liberation. Why so? I mean, nobody knows. But just imagine an existence without any superimposition. I mean, quite frankly, just imagine existence, one without a second. There is only existence and conscious existence without anything to illumine and reveal, without any superimposition of Prakriti producing the variety, numberless diversities of apparent objects. So it sounds a little bit boring, therefore it makes some sense to the theory that somehow Brahma said, no, we have to create some fun here, some dynamism, and let's create diversity here. And then among the diversity of objects, I'm going to create living sentient objects, and then we'll see how they are going to behave. I give them the five element, the five sense, the five senses are going to connect into the five objects, and then they are going to develop preference. Preference are going to develop likes and dislikes. Likes and dislikes are going to develop into abiding vasanas, addictions, and then they are going to be trapped in samsara. The only way to get out of this samsara is going to be to reverse it all by and by, doing the entire reverse process, beginning from understand the creator and the laws and what is a jiva, what are the mechanism by which we develop binding vasanas. Binding vasanas bind us to samsara. It's no good to be bound to samsara because you cannot control your experience in samsara. So if you experience some punya, some pleasure today, be sure that it's going to be followed by pain as well. And then we know the story, what it means, samsara. So it seems that the five elements gave themselves to us so that I have the opportunity to develop certain degree of Viveka Shakti to make good use of this opportunity. And I have done well, Lord, and now I'm returning this instrument back to you. They came from the elements. Here they go back to the elements. They have served their purpose. Very beautiful. I'm merging to Brahman. I'm handing over this body made out of the elements. This is the attitude. This attitude is called Nirahankaraha. Nirman Maha. Okay. It's an attitude by which we give it back without no attachment, understanding that everything belongs to my Ishvara. And another note, another feature of this ultimate devotee is that he is equanimous in respect to dukkha sukha. So sama dukkha sukha. He is equanimous. He is well posed. I like this word very much, posed. So you guys understand the language, English language, much more than I. So, what is the best way to translate this posed?
It means your way of being, the way you interact, your poise. the way you stand, the way you do the things you do.
Really well balanced.
Okay. It has not only to do with the physical structure of the person, but goes beyond. It means that it's emotional and mentally balanced as well. No? Yeah, that's how I understand it. Poised. When posed is poised. Very nice.
Poised, yeah.
Swami likes to put it as if you have a shock absorber. I like to, 25 years later on, I like to present a more modern analogy, airbag. You have an airbag against the shocks that life presents, hits us. So this airbag is good, but the shock absorber allows us a better illustration of this analogy because life is full of holes, you know. Chennai roads, all roads from India in general, and at least used to be up to last time I have been there. There are many holes, and then you have to have a good suspension in your car, not to suffer the potholes again and again. So there are two ways you can solve this problem. One is to go about covering all the potholes of the entire India, you know, or simply develop the resistance against them, you know, a good suspension, a good shock absorber. And even if you develop this shock absorber, you yet it's never going to be 100%. It at the most can be reduced to a great extent so that you can transit, you can navigate through life reasonably, comfortably. That's very nice. It's good to know that there is no question of 100% shock absorber, 100% equanimity. So some reactions are unnatural to our human nature. But as we know, you know, the frequency, intensity, and the recovery time makes the difference. And the Yanapala is going to give you the best possible rate of FIR. Our lives travels through life, and life is full of potholes, you know. And then Swan puts again a very nice elaboration of this analogy. Our life has got several roads. Roads are what? This parabola is manifesting here, and I have to follow this way and see where it's going to take me, and that option, this. So there are all these highways, potential, you know, timelines some people like to put, you know. Uh, so sometimes we drive a road which offers us punya, you know, very smooth, you know. We cannot even give an example of German roads. 40 years ago, German roads were like carpets. I mean, even more than you would say when I got to USA in 2000, 2001. Germany was famous because the roads were just like black carpets. And but not now. Now Germany has collapsed as well, big time. So we can drive on a German asphalt road, and that's great punya. But we can drive in one of those roads between Tiruvannamalai and Chennai, full of holes and very dangerous. Uh, so therefore, the only way is to have titiksha or resistance or balance or good set of suspension. And how you get this shock absorber against all the different holes or ups and downs we take through our parabadas. The only system, the only shock absorber is called Atmayana. By enjoying Atmayana, I develop equanimity in respect to Sukha, Dukkha. Not that there will be no Sukha Dukkha, but there will be very small, and anyhow, my Tiksha can handle any one of those small difficulties or crises or adversities, like Ranji used to say, it's good when it's good, and it's good when it's not good. It is reasonably poised, the mind of the Jnani, without having any trauma in the mind. And how to do that? So everywhere there is Vedantic as well, religious method. Vedantic method is too high. So there are two methods to get this shock absorber or this equanimity. I already anticipated at the beginning. One is the the final binary method of understanding that I am Satya, the world is Mithya, and there is no way Mithya can really affect Satya. Although Satya is fundamentally the substratum of Mithya, but exactly like the space is the substratum of the entire manifestation of Namarupas, yet the space remains unaffected by the rising and fall of Namarupas. So this understanding is one way, is the Vedantic final way. The religious method is the Karma Yoga, the understanding of the nature of Saguna Lord, Saguna Ishvara. If the Vedanta method is too high, Aham Satya, everything else is Mithya, a dream-like Mithya. And then we will say, oh, sometimes people come with this one, and I say, no, it's what you have to do. I'm suffering. Just say, this is Mithya, this is all Mithya. Doesn't matter. It's Mithya. But more often than not, that approach does not help at the beginning. It helps only once the person is well established in Satya as Satya, and then you don't need to really use it. It's there in your mind to offset any possible minimal reaction against adversities. So, oh, I'm Satya. I'm conscious that nothing can really affect me. So those are the two ways. Aham Satya, Jagata Mithya. This Sukha is Mithya Sukha, Dukkha is Mithya Dukkha. It is all like dream. This helps the Jnani to remain poised, and balanced, elegantly balanced, dealing with the world as a witnessing consciousness, not emotionally involved with Sukha and Dukkha. But for this method requires a lot of qualifications and lot of assimilation, a lot of internalization as well, as we know. So we always have these two tools. When we have difficulties approaching us, we can use the triangular tool or method to find this emotional mental balance by holding on to the Lord, understanding that the Lord is the base on which I can lean, and I can gain a lot of strength to deal with difficult paravadas, and then I take all the paravadas again as prasad, as just the manifestation of my very actions, my karma, and it serves a purpose to help me to reconnect, to re-examine and connect the dots, and improve on myself with a sense of gratitude that everything is designed, intelligently to favor my spiritual development. So this is the Kama Yoga way to find a poised, balanced mind. And the binary way is the easiest because it does not require even much complexity. In yoga, the Aham Brahmasmi is the simplest teaching of Vedanta, but it's the most difficult to be internalized, but it's the simplest. I am consciousness, I'm not the body mind, I'm not the world obtained through the body mind. I just observe everything like I watch a movie on the screen of a cinema hall, and I'm not emotionally involved. I can get emotionally involved, but deliberately, just as a fun. But if I start really losing my poise, I just remember that I'm just watching the movie, the projection of my Ishvara. So it's very simple, uh, but not very easy because it requires a lot of qualifications and a lot of assimilation and integration, internalization, so that we can develop that kind of vairagya. Uh, we have to see from moment to moment which method works better. I know because people talk to me on those terms. Oh, I'm suffering. Blah, blah, blah. When you talking to people who experience a lot of suffering, it's a little bit difficult. And because when the mind is suffering, the mind has no viveka shakti, has no vairagya. The mind is totally freaked out. And then what to say? The easiest thing to say is trust in Ishvara, lean on Ishvara, accept it as prasada for this and that reason, blah, blah, blah. Remember the teachings on Kamya. But even that is too much to ask from a suffering mind. And the tragedy is that people usually they run to spirituality or Vedanta when they are suffering. The moment that the suffering is over is when the person should go and go back to the teachings and try to better assimilate the teaching when the mind is in a good shape. But when the mind in a good shape, people just want to go into the world and enjoy the world. That's the difficulty. But anyhow, Vedanta method is the simplest but the most difficult. Religious method is also a good method. Understanding in creation, everything was given to the Lord, has to go back to the Lord. Pleasure and pain is an integral part of humans' parabolic experience. Everything serves a certain purpose. This world, this manifestation is designed intelligently. And the purpose is to favor our spiritual purification, elevation, refinement, so that we can be free from this trap posed by Maheshwara. Everything has a purpose, but if I do not understand that life has a certain purpose, if I believe that life is just an opportunity to have some moments of enjoyment, of pleasure, sensory pleasure most of the times, and then I'm going to be definitely trapped in samsara. So we need to have this understanding of this relationship, this apparent relationship between Ishvara, Jiva, Jagata, and the purpose of this projection that sometimes seems to be cruel because it's so difficult to realize and I am Brahman and be free from this hardwired ignorance that traps us into samsara. No? This trust in the scripture, this trust in this intelligent design universe, this trust in Ishvara must be very strong to begin with. It's the base of Karma Yoga. And the more you study the scripture, the more you study creation, the more you understand that, and the more you study creation. Now, this is the scientists, they don't have a relationship with the creator. Therefore, there is no question of trusting or confidence or not in the creator. But they study science, they study this manifestation, try to understand it. Any science you take, the appreciation that we get is everything in the creation has a purpose. Okay, he's not going in any one of the two directions that I thought he was going. He's just saying that even when we look at the objective phenomenal world, we see that everything serves a certain purpose, every insect, every plant everything is contributing, is part of this incredible design. So in Taittiriya Upanishad, he says, we will see later, and he was teaching the Taittiriya as well. The creation is called suktam, which means there is nothing purposeless. And if this is understood, we have to apply this to sukha and dukkha pair. All opposite pairs we have to apply. But especially pleasures and pains humans experience in life. Because our experience, our subject experience of pleasure and pain are integral part of this creation. Therefore, sukha dukkha is also one of the most fundamental pair of opposites. That's what we come to know from the Puranic study, where Rama and Krishna, regardless of being around Rama or Krishna or anyone else, everyone goes through ups and downs, pleasure and pain. And my conviction is that sukha dukkha also have a purpose, and the purpose is my own inner polishing or refinement. Jesus is so big. I think I shared with you guys a few times that I wrote. Did I tell you about a poem I wrote to Papaji? No? When I was in Lucknow on those days, after having been with staying with my first guru, Osho, and then after 10 years around Osho, I came back to society, and then it was very difficult, and so on, and then I went back, and then I found Papaji at the point of my life that I thought that it was over for me. I mean, if I should get enlightenment, I should have got it before. And now I have so many concerns and worries and preoccupation with how to make a living. I'm having my gray hairs already. My son has to be taken care. And I wrote a message. I wrote, when I got to him, it was such a relief to be in that atmosphere of satsang. And I wrote a message saying exactly this one, that I was lost in the world, going through all kinds of ups and downs, and I thought that I would lose myself absolutely in this samsara. I would never be able to find out. I was losing myself, losing my way, because every time I was around the community, now I'm growing spirit, and then I have to leave the community, take care of making money. I say, oh, I'm making many steps backwards. I'm a hopeless case. And I said, I thought I was a hopeless case, but I was not aware that the very ups and downs of life was polishing myself, my mind, and preparing this body mind for these teachings now, So how did I put in the words? Because I had a lot of devotion towards God, and God was being superimposed by Papaji at the time. I say that, oh yeah, all this, the ups and downs and pleasure and pains and good and bad things and so on, I did not know. I thought it was taking me farther and farther away from you, Lord, but I did not know that this struggle was refining my mind so that the mind could come closer and closer to you. I was putting that perspective. He read my note in the satsang and he enjoyed very much at the time. It's more or less this one made me remember that note. Therefore, the conversion of my personality, this refinement, requires pleasure and pains, several processes of dukkha. Also, dukkha is one of the process. Suffering is a very important force, to move us. But as I told you, the downside of suffering is that our Viveka Shakti is compromised when we are suffering too much. And then the key is you are suffering. Your discrimination is very bad. Forget about that. But the moment, because everything come and go, the suffering passes, the acute suffering passes as well. The moment that the acute suffering passes, remember that you were suffering big time. Don't forget it. And now that your Viveka Shakti is in better condition, try to understand why you were suffering. Well, going through dukkha is part of the process. It's like converting a raw material into a final product. It has to go through many procedures. Sukha is one of them. Now you're very happy. Things are working for you. And then, great. And then that will go. And then you need to connect the dots and see, wow, okay, I cannot trust moments of happiness. So pleasures. So everything is going to serve to mold, to shape, my inner growth. Once I have this inner growth, this strong conviction in respect to Sukham Dukkam, I'll be able to accept without resistance Sukham and Dukkam. I understood. I have no control over them. Really, those are manifestations of my Prarabdha. It belongs to the Ishvara system. All I can do in this entire Ishvara system is to respond to my Prarabdha from the perspective of Dharma. That's the only thing we can do. And long ago, about 10 years ago, it flashed to my mind clearly that the only real exercise of free will is a decision, a choice to live and total observance of Dharma, the laws and principles of the Lord, sustaining the Dharma field. So all we can do is to choose this, in terms of real good exercise of free will. Now, because all other choice we do, we don't know where it's going to take us, But if we make the fundamental choice, I'm going to make an effort to observe Dharma at all times, that is going to take us to freedom. Then the next virtue is each one we have to test ourselves on and off. So all those qualities presented in this verse. And the next one is Sami. Ksama. Who has got this ksama? So it's another development of the same vairagya, a poised mind, poised personality. So the person who has this mental emotional balance has huge resistance against strong adversities. So the best definition of ksama, Swami is just playing a joke. He says the best definition of shama is that virtue that no one of us have, because most human beings do not know what titiksha is, forbearance, acceptance of very, very difficult parameters. It's the most difficult virtue to develop, because the faster the pace of life is, the more difficult it is to have detection, forbearance, acceptance. We can define detection in several ways, including a jokingly way, like so he did. When we face a very difficult situation, our tendency is to change the situation to make it favorable to me. The situation need not be merely a setup, can be a behavior of someone, or can be a complexity of many factors making up parameters, situation, circumstance, So I have to do something to bring things favorable to me. So what is the most common way we do when we see that things are going south and more and more and more? I need to do something to change it. So the first good idea is a shortcut. I'm going to use force or violence to change situations here, because there is no time for diplomacy, there is no time to conversations. I'm losing. Every empire in the world behaves like this. When they start collapsing, going down, they use military force, trying to, but it does not work. I have these pictures. It's quite a while that we are moving into a multipolar world, and the United States will never again experience its supremacy like it was with the UK, the British Empire, and the Roman Empire, and all empires. Everything goes up due to certain circumstances and come down. So when we have a behave on a family, we can use a shortcut, a very fast method to change the situation. And the method used usually is a violent method. We can use verbal violence or even physical violence. This is the method applied, and we see it in families. In the old days, the mother, poor mother, was home. She was not having jobs at the time, but many children and a lot of stress, and how to keep those children behaving. So she had to use some verbal and sometimes physical violence, because the children would not listen. So this is a natural human tendency. When things are not going our way, we tend to use violent methods to try to change the situation as soon as possible, by intimidation, coercion, threatening, providing, make one feel guilt, or promising punishments and so on, like tariffs, of the Trump administration. So this is the first human tendency of method, flare-up violent method. And a person with titiksha this is a very beautiful insight brought by Swamiji. A person with titiksha is a very poised person who tries to postpone violent method as much as long as possible. Okay. Making again an analogy with geopolitics of nowadays, who has a better pose and a better break into the human reaction of going for violent methods, you know? So it seems that people from the East, I'm not going to mention the name, they are more balanced, you know, in and not really going, because otherwise we would have been already in the middle of Third World War, but I mean a hot war, you know. So someone has to have the tiksha to hold on, accept certain things, you know, not to trigger a total disaster. Because the impulsive reaction of some people, you know, is going to compel them to choose a quicker method of changing the situation. The wiser person is going to postpone that tendency of using violence method, are going to try no-violent methods, diplomacy or negotiation or transactions or tradings, agreements. So you give me these and tariffs and you're not going to sell these and then you're not going to buy my products. It's okay, never mind. And then very calmly you go and you find different markets, you know. Even at the last moment, a chance is given. The greater the postponement, the wiser this person is. So the multi-tiksha is an indication of having multi-tiksha. And if I should develop that level of tiksha, forbearance, I should have a clear vision, understanding that violent method, although it's very natural due to human beings' violent inner nature, animal nature, and it is apparently effective because it may give an immediate result. That's why people adopt it. People short-sighted, they say, no, it's going to give an immediate result, but it's not really efficacious because it is not a long-lasting result, because resentment is built, you know. Everybody knows how to threaten and intimidate others with the violent energies of rage. But you cannot really having a lasting result because the other part, the other nation, the other person is complying just due to fear, out of fear. Okay, so I am the most powerful military force, and if you do not comply, we destroy you. I'm gonna take your nation. Well, I'm gonna take Greenland. I'm gonna take this. I'm gonna take anything I want. You understand? So, because I have military power, financially I'm bankrupt and this and that, but I can destroy every one of you with my navy. So it does not work. It may, you know, work in forcing people, but it builds such a resentment and rage inside of everybody, you know. It's a quick, but the person on the other side understands that I can't take it forever. I have to comply, otherwise I'm going to be destroyed, but I need to do something to take revenge. So on the quick side effect, it's okay, but in a more effective long-term way, it is even worse. Why? Because you're using a powerful drug and the side effects of every pharmaceutical drugs are huge, okay? And many times it's huge, it's worse than the disease itself. So the more I understand the natural way of find solutions for things diplomatically without behaving like a mad dog, a mad animal, you know, the more I understand it clear, the more I'm convinced of the fact that I have to avoid this temptation to violent method, coercion, threatening, and so on, because the side effects are horrible, including terrorism. I should understand the human psychology, the functioning of the mind. Whenever I use violent method, the other person, the other side is greatly resented, okay? Disturbed, resent. And if I use violent methods, the victim of those violence, inside they become also violent, because if we try to get away with violence, the other side is going to develop a tendency to be violent as well. And we are built a more and more violent world that way. Therefore, not only I am violent, but I'm making other people to behave violently as well. And that person may not retaliate now. They may not retaliate openly, but they already have the plans on how to retaliate, and sometimes without anybody know that came from you. Most common example is the children in our house. When the child grows up and so on, they have received so much violence from mother and father, and they have internalized that violence, and they are going to replicate it upon his or her own children as well. I need to understand it very clear. We are producing violent people, violent notions all over the world, violent nations all over the world. Every time I become violently threatening, trying to force people to behave according to my will, my dictation, my dictates, yeah? I'm acting as if I have a nuclear weapon in my hands, threatening to ignite it against them. It's going to create more nuclear weapons all over the world. It's a chain reaction. If I understand this very clearly, I will try to avoid this violent method, not that it should not be there. The scriptures say that sometimes it is justifiable to use violent methods, but only as the last resort. But a wise person is going to postpone using violent method to the last moment, and Jesus called someone with detection, poison detection. So which are the exceptions that allows people to use violence? Is when the very structure of Dharma is at stake. You have done everything to try to find agreements, and but there is no way, because Duryodhana is stubborn. He wants everything his way, and so on. The problem is we don't have one single world leader that we could compare to Arjuna, and his family, because this is Kali Yuga. Everything is corrupt. Everybody wants supremacy and power over all resource and all other nations. So Krishna told Arjuna, Arjuna, you have tried everything. The last resort now is violence. You have to fight this war and destroy all enemies of Dharma. And then 2,500 years later on, we still hear the politicians of nowadays saying, no, we destroyed that nation, and that is justifiable because we want to free their people. We want to restore democracy, And they have no base to say that. It's all fake. They just want to hold their power. Verse 14, that devotee of mine holds mind and intellect fixed upon me, who is ever content, tranquil, self-restrained, and with clear knowledge is the most dear to me. This is a verse that appears here and there in the Gita. The devotee of mine whose mind and intellect is fixed upon me and who is ever contented, tranquil, self-restrained, has a clear knowledge, is dear to me. Some place it appears as the most dear to me. So every one of us is a devotee, okay? We must be a devotee. No matter how enlightened we may be, we should remain as a devotee to the Lord, the Creator, in its saguna and nirguna nature. We remember the Lord. We have a great appreciation for our conscious existence in this planet, in spite of the yuga we are going through now. So the first thing it says that every spiritual, highly developed being, spiritually speaking, is a devotee of the Lord. The devotee of mine who has a mind and intellect fixed on me develops great purity. Fixing the mind on the Lord means going through the process of full, entire, complete understanding of the nature of the Lord in its manifestation, saguna, and its manifestation, nirguna, atma, my very atma. So you have to hold your mind so much upon these final teachings of the Vedanta, even the intermediary teachings of Vedanta addressing the nature of Saguna Ishvara. It becomes almost like a fixation, obsession, to want to think about these teachings again and again. As we know, the way we have to keep the mind on the Lord is to keep the mind on the scriptures, disclosing the nature of the Lord. Okay? There's no other way. So if we do that, if our desire to know the self is equal to the desire to know the nature of the Lord, I will be obsessed with this desire. This desire is going to, by and by, burn all other worldly desires. And when it burns everything, it burns itself until it just produces a mental state in which self-recognition takes place. The devotee of mine whose mind is intellect fixed on me, my nature, and he who is ever contented. So he is ever content means to say this devotee is so advanced that he has already picked up the fruits of keeping the mind in the nature, fixed up upon the nature of the Lord, that has processed so much refinement of my vasanas, and my mind is now very tranquil, content, sattvic. Not only I have this wonderful state of mind, and my mind is also disciplined, because it's one thing is to say, no, I have a beautiful state of mind, but how about the disciplines that allow your mind to come to this level? The discipline must be there up to the last breath. Self-restrained mind, the mind, which is discipline, and the disciplined mind, a sattvic mind, a tranquil mind, is the one that is going to clearly assimilate self-knowledge and retain this self-knowledge doubtlessly at all times. This soul, this individual, having gone through all this process, is dear to me, and we have to remember that this is Krishna speaking in the name of Ishvara. Krishna is a manifestation of Ishvara, as an avatar, so to speak. It's Ishvara coming down in a human body and talking through a human body, you know, same way Jesus used to say, myself and my Father are one, you know. So Krishna says similar things, and he's saying all of these things. These people are dear to me because I have great appreciation to their journey, the way they went through life, the way somehow they passed this test of life, coming on the other side with posed personality, intellect which is sharp and clear, an emotional body who is tranquil, content, and balanced, totally disciplined, and with a firm and clear self-knowledge. So, of course, the Lord must have great appreciation to people such as the Yanni, highly developed beings. Okie dokie, are we good for tomorrow? Om Purnamada Purnamidam Purnamudachyate Purnasya Purnamadaya Purnameva Vashishyate. Om Shanti Shanti Shanti. Om. Namaste, thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you, Islander.
Thank you. We meet tomorrow again. Namaste.